What's up? It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son. It's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Hell, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating rap. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you can get all the new content when I post it. I just came here to articulate and give you a detailed perspective, close up and far away, microscopic and telescopic viewpoint of hip hop. Right? Hip hop, music, and pretty much everything that's going around in the culture. Because there are more meanings to what we see than the obvious upfront thing that comes to our head. Sometimes we have to dig a little bit deeper, and I'm here to do the digging for y'all and kind of let y'all know what type of dirt is underneath that rug. You dig? So appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for the support. Y'all know it's been tough, but I still keep going. I'm in year 3. I've been doing it 2 years now, so I'm going into this third year, rocking and rolling, and just continue to keep rocking. Hopefully, less rolling, right? Less rolling. But man, ASAP Rocky, like we've been seeing him a lot on a lot of interviews. We've been seeing him on a podcast with academics, now with Joe Budden. We saw him on Popcast, and he's continuing the rollout of Don't Be Dumb. And I think he definitely took a page out of the Clips book, although I feel like they started before the album released, and he's kind of doing it kind of in the midst of the album release, which, to be honest, I don't think it's a bad time, but I do feel like it's a little bit late. But at the same time, he did release music, said he wasn't gonna drop, then release music, and then we never knew what was going on. So I think he had that time to do it, and he went with it. And to be honest, like ASAP Rocky as a figure, you know, as a personality, is as just a celebrity, I feel like the persona of ASAP is bigger than the music of ASAP, right? You know, his ties, relationship with Rihanna, the kids that they got, right? That makes him bigger than music. The fact that he's having multiple kids with a billionaire, that makes him bigger than music. New York City holding it down. He just beat a gun charge, right? Somebody tried to say he tried to kill him. He beat a charge. I think his persona is bigger than music right now. In 2019, locked up in Switzerland or Sweden, I think, and Trump had to get him out. I think he's bigger than music right now. And sometimes your celebrity can be bigger and louder than your music, which is not always a bad thing, because that means you always got eyes, always got ears, always got people wanting to stream what you got going. But at the same time, it's a distraction, it's a disturbance. It takes away from your musicality, it takes away from your artistry, and I don't believe it did that on Don't Be Dumb. But I do believe the lack of participation that he's been doing as far as musical standpoint is a part of that, right? And then when he did participate, he didn't give us no big hits. He didn't give us no classic albums. He just gave us music. And I'll be quite frank with you. I'll be quite honest with you. I admire the man ASAP, but I don't care for his music. And really, why? There's no true reason why, because music is subjective. It's just because none of his music that he has released prior has really touched my soul. I believe that's truly the reason why, right? Because he got a little bit more swag with his substance. He got a little bit more flashiness, you know, he's not talking to me. He's talking to the youngins. He's talking to the people that want to stunt, the people that want to have the nice things in life. And I do want to have the nice things in life, but to really get my attention, you got to speak to my soul. And I don't think that that's what he does. That's what he's doing on Don't Be Dumb either. But to get to the meat and potatoes of everything, I think he showcased some variety. Punk rocky, a little punk rock, a little bit. I feel like he gave us a little bit of everything, a little bit of jazz, right? With the song with Doechii, Helicopter, Stole Your Flow. Was it Shot to Drake or Shot to Travis Scott? He's come out and been vocal about like his issue with Drake, and he basically said he don't got no issue. But when he got with Rihanna, he felt like Drake was a little bit salty, right? And he acted like he was salty, sent shots at Rihanna. Auntie, Auntie, that's what he said on For All the Dogs. So as he sends shots at the man's baby mother, at the man's damn near wife, like you kind of gotta get in that mix. You gotta get in the grill. You gotta throw shots back. He threw shots back on We Don't Trust You. And he threw shots back on Stole Your Flow. And, to me, it's not a big thing. It's not a big deal. It's not gonna be like a battle. But we know that Drake trying to send shots at Rick Ross, trying to send shots at A$AP Rocky, trying to send shots at Metro Boomin while he was trying to actually battle Kendrick was part of the reason why he was defeated. He defeated himself. And I think what A$AP doing is just kind of pretty much getting his lick back. Let him know, yeah, I heard all that. I'm going to say some shit too. Whatever it is, whatever you want to say is whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm going to get whatever I want to get off my chest, and I think he done that. Mixed feelings. The production was good. I think it was just some different things that we haven't heard. Some definitely experimental stuff. But I feel like it played into the variety of the album as far as curation, as far as structure of the album. I think, it's front loaded with a lot of good vibes, a lot of up-tempo heat, hard, heavy production. In the back end, it starts to get a little bit more calmer. And just, I think it's okay, right? Mixed feelings because I think this is probably the best I've heard him since I've been listening to him. Or since the mixtape stuff, which I really wasn't into anyways, but I do feel like this is the best version of A$AP I've heard. But the mixed feelings part is because I don't really have a lot to go off of to truly like critique his artistry versus from what he did in the past to what he's doing now. So that's really my thoughts about Don't Be Dumb. I think it's a good comeback album. It's a good album to release at the top of the year. Kind of put your name back in the hat and just keep going for it. Another thing that I listened to Friday morning when it first came out, something that I was looking forward to was Vacancy, Ari Lennox. I wanted to see what she would do with Jermaine Dupri and Brian Michael Cox, and to my surprise, it's really only 2 tracks, I believe, Twin Flame and Soft Girl Era, that she did with them. So this is not an album entirely produced by Jermaine Dupri and Brian Michael Cox, right? But she did have some slaps. She did have some good music that they both produced, and those were her leading singles. And a friend, or should I say, a kinfolk of mine, brought to my attention that the main producer on this album is Elite. They called him an in-house producer of Dreamville, and saying that, hey, she really still went back to the Dreamville sound. She tried to get away from it, and then she went back to her Dreamville sound that really made her famous or made her known. And I do like Shea Butter Baby as an album, but like from top to bottom, I don't think it's a classic album. I think it's a good album. I think it's her first album, her first impression. But I feel like Ari had EPs that was better than Shea Butter Baby. Like we like Shea Butter Baby. We like Chicago Boy. You know, it's a couple of songs on there, but like all the way through, I don't love that album all the way through. Age, Sex, Location, that was cool too, right? That was cool too. But I believe Vacancy is definitely well curated, well orchestrated, and it just flows well from the beginning to the end, and it gives you a little bit of pop, R&B, and soul, and it just gives you all of these dimensions that Ari can give you as a singer and songstress. And I hate that, the perspective of her from the internet can kind of weigh people's feelings on how they feel about her music. And the same thing that I was saying about ASAP, when people become too visible on the internet and their personality becomes bigger than their music, it takes away the listener experience when it comes to the music. So I feel like you kind of gotta, have a good balance of both, because too much internet games, it hurts uh the music. But if you're able to manage being visible, but at the same time being mystique, I think that's the best way to do it. So I say that because I think all of the visible things, all of her trauma from being on a Rod Wave tour, somebody throwing something on stage when she was on stage, how she was managed with Dreamville, I believe that is something that kind of caused her to be more vocal and to be more visible, because before she was having issues with her record label or whatever was going on, like it seems like she was a low key girl. She was a lovable girl. But then the internet, they started talking about her image, her features. She lost a lot of weight, still looked good. But I think it's just been hard for her to maneuver in this industry and still be on the internet and try to take the criticism. And it's definitely hard for people to do that. And why? Why am I spending so much time on Ari? Because I love Ari. Like dark skin, like chocolate, smooth, shea butter baby, voice like an angel. And when I see a black woman that feels mistreated, when I hear them cry out, like it's a part of me that wants to comfort them, that wants to protect them. And although I don't always agree with what she's crying for, uh, there is a part of every man that should be some way sensitive to a woman's needs or whatever she vocalizes, and just try to find some understanding, even though you cannot rationalize with it. But I like this album. I like this album. Mobbing in DC, Wake Up. Like she pretzel, she gets a little freaky. Of course, Twin Flame, Soft Girl Era. Those are the singles. Cool Down. Like it's like you could play all the way through and just have a vibe. I don't really believe there's no true skips. I believe this is just a good album that you can listen all the way through, vibe out. It kind of give you a little bit of everything. Just showcases her style, showcases like the variety that she can bring to the table with her vocal cords. And I think this puts her back in good graces with the fan base. But I want to get back to the Dreamville segment. And the thing about Dreamville is not J. Cole as a musician. You have to understand and you have to separate the two. When I'm talking about J. Cole as a musician and J. Cole as an executive, and I feel like J. Cole is not the main executive out of Dreamville. I believe that Ibrahim is. Ibrahim, that guy, I believe he's the main executive. I don't think Cole is the main executive. I think Cole is how they was able to get this talent, how they was able to hold on to this talent, right? Find this talent. I believe Cole was that influence. But as far as developing them, that's when J. Cole, the artist, to me, isn't able to develop them, because when we look at J. Cole's discography and we think about the Billboard 100 entries and we think about the hits that he's never actually had any true hits. J. Cole, he's had hits, right? Okay, don't get me wrong. He's had features, but by himself, he hasn't had much hit solo, right? Drake helped get him his first number one with first person shooter. And how long J. Cole been around? Since 09, 2010. He didn't get his first number one till at the end of 2023, right? Beginning of 2024, right? Y'all do the math. That's 14, 15 years in the game. Right? And when we talk about what Hove said to him when he gave him workout, he didn't even want him to drop Sideline Story without Cole giving him a hit. Like, so that's the thing. Like, Cole is not known for making hits. And to be honest, to sustain a true record label and sustain like success, you have to have hits. You have to have the Billboard Top 100 entries. We could look at Schoolboy Q. We could look at Kendrick Lamar. We could look at SZA. We could look at what they did to have success. Absol gives us good albums, right? Isaiah Rashad, a good album. But those top three people from that record label gave you hits, right? When we talk about Ari, when we talk about JID, when we talk about Earth Gang, JID, Surround Sound, right? Dance Now. He's giving us something. Like Skate Town, I think is making some moves right now. But as far as God Doesn't Like Ugly, he didn't truly have no true hits off that. And I don't even think God Doesn't Like Ugly was a top 10 Billboard 100, Billboard 200 album when it came out. I think it was like 13. And we know how important JID is to this culture. And we know how important he is on pushing hip-hop forward into that new era. And he doesn't have the hits that will help him propel himself. And I do believe Cole is at fault for doing that. And because Cole doesn't truly have hits himself, Cole has always been able to hang his hat on his fan base and his touch with the people. Right? So, you know, that's my argument. And I feel like Ari was mismanaged. If not by her record label, if not by her manager, if you want to point the finger, you got to point the finger at the higher ups. She's the singer. She's the talent. They supposed to put her in the, why is she on tour with Rod Wave? They supposed to put her in the right positions. Right? But she wasn't in the right positions. So why can't I say Dreamville didn't do right? Where is Boz? Where is Kaz? Where is Loot? Where is Omen? But you want to talk about Elite being the in-house producer producing this album? Like, of course, she's going to work with somebody she's comfortable with and knows her sound, knows her vocal range, knows what they're doing. Like, nothing's wrong with that. But don't try to take credit for this album being a Dreamville album, quote unquote. No, it's not the same record label. It's Interscope. You think if Wayne leaves Cash Money or if Juvenile leaves Cash Money, he wouldn't work with Manny Fresh at all? Like, people that left good music, you don't think they would work with Kanye if the choice wasn't available to them? Like, what are we talking about right here? We're talking about management. We're talking about executives. We're talking about the right plays, the right choices being made for a career. It ain't, the music is the music. Right? The music is the music, man. And not saying she got any ill will towards Cole, because she continues to show her love for and support for Cole. Not saying that she has, but she felt like it was the right decision for her to make to move away from Dreamville. and let's see how she will flourish. And I feel like when it comes to JID, that's the move he needs to make next, honestly, because he hasn't grown how he was supposed to grow. And that's unfortunate. And he's one of those pieces on the chessboard that we need to move hip hop forward. Right. And 21 Savage and Fabio Foreign, fuck the streets beef. Right. I don't even really want to speak on it. I don't even want to talk about it, but Young Thug has got involved in like New York versus the South. It's crazy, ironic. Uh, but not only did Fabio Foreign say something about it, Boosie said something about it. Uh, Young Boy said something about it. Um, and I think we got to get away from the ignorance at the end of the day. We got to get away from the ignorance at the end of the day, because the ignorant part of people is the people that's not understanding the whole movement of fuck the streets. Like, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, they're hearing the word streets, and they're just rationalizing it with, you know, where they come from, the slums, the trenches, the places they were when they were down bad, the places they were when they ain't have nothing to their name, and they could count on their loved ones, they could count on their neighbors, they could count on their friends. Right? Some people have died, some people have gone to jail, and some people have made it out and also have extended a helping hand, or have been extended a helping hand from the others that made it out before them. Like, it's all about the snitching stuff, right? They're correlating him saying fuck the streets because he's trying to make an excuse for the snitching stuff of Young Thug and Gunna. That's pretty much what they correlating it to. Uh, and I believe Young Thug and Gunna, they have to have some type of accountability when it comes to that. And if 21 Savage and a Lil Baby want to have their excuses or move the goalpost for them, that's fine, because it's a form of nepotism in a way. Like, if you from my hood, if you from my city, and I'm gonna have different standards, I'm gonna hold the bar a different way for you than I am gonna hold it for everybody else across this nation. So I believe Boosie, Fabio, and Young Boy are pretty much saying, like, don't move the goalposts. Don't move the goalposts. And 21 Savage is letting them know, like, I'm still street, like, I'm still that nigga, like, I'm still one of them. Like, the movement is not about that. The movement is just about, the gangs, the violence, right? The drugs, like all of the bad things that the streets entail. That's why I'm saying fuck the streets. But, for the people outside looking in, it just seems like he's making excuses, moving the goalposts for others. So it just depends on how you want to see it. Depends on your perspective. And if you want to be ignorant to it, you can, but at the same time, it's not about like ignorance, really, because if you see that somebody's showing favoritism to others but putting different standards on the next person, then you got to call a spade a spade. And so I don't know if Fabio is just trying to call a spade, and you got to think about it. When have I ever talked about Fabio? When has Fabio really truly been relevant, other than when Pop Smoke died and people thought he was going to be the next person in drill rap that was going to lead New York City to the top, and he didn't? When has Fabio released the project that we really had love for, that we really cared about? Like, nobody in New York has had no true motion like that. Ice Spice, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, all the women rappers are in control of New York. None of the male rappers. What's up, Cash Cobain? Man, but like, I think not only here's what I see it. Not only is Fabio trying to call a spade, but be honest, he's trying to put himself back in the mix. He's trying to clout chase. And since he has an opportunity to people talking about him again. So now since people talking about him again, he recently just got out of prison actually. So 21 Savage gave him the opportunity, gave him the platform, and gave him more eyes on him to do something, to say something, and maybe put out some music and kind of remind the people who he actually is and what he can actually do musically. So don't squander this opportunity, Fabio. Now that you've clout chased a little bit and got some type of noise and relevance about yourself. And Jadakiss and Fat Joe, we got to talk about Jada and Joe show and how Fat Joe was said he don't want to hear Cole really talk like that. Charlamagne was kind of like in the same realm of like he thinks Cole's a great rapper. He thinks this album is going to be good, but they don't want to hear him talk that talk like he one of the best. And at the end of the day, you have to come to grips with it. And Fat Joe, like, you're not somebody that can tell someone not to talk that talk. You've always been in the middle of the pack with your peers. Charlamagne, you're a great radio host, but you're not a rapper, right? And as a great radio host, as somebody that studies hip hop, you should know, like, there's no way Cole can rap like he needs to rap and not talk how he needs to talk. And he's gonna talk how he needs to talk because if this album has taken years to make, we know that it's some songs, some verses that have been written down before the beef. When he felt like he was number one, when he felt like he was on top. Like, really, all that shit is internet shit. Like, we want to hear Cole rap. We want to hear Cole get back to the meat and potatoes. I want to hear Cole say and talk like he number one. And then I want to hear Kendrick, Drake, all these other niggas get back in the booth and rap and tell them like niggas trying to talk like it, but they really not. When it's like, let the rappers be the rappers and let them handle it. Right? Let them be sovereign amongst each other. Like radio hosts, people that's not rapping at an elite level, they don't need to have no say in who can rap and who can't rap and who can say what they want to say. No, we need Cole at his best. We need Cole to be in elite form because he's the one that helps push hip hop forward. We need Drake to be his best self. Not for all the dogs, Drake. Not the certified lover boy Drake. But if you're reading this, it's too late. But Scorpion, the first this a nigga that can rap and still cater to everybody else at the same time, but keep the main thing the main thing. That's what we need from Kendrick, and that's what Kendrick has done. We need our elites to be elite because we don't have the youngins up under them to push it forward. So we got to root on these guys because these are the ones with the subject matter. These are the ones that are going to move the masses. These are ones that are going to push the narratives when it comes to hip hop. And we got to understand that their voice is important. And however they want to express it, they say whatever they want to say, let them say it. And whatever the consequences are, let them deal with the consequences. And right now, Cole is dealing with the consequences. And if he say what he want to say, there will be more consequences. There will be more ramifications. But at the end of the day, give us the art how the art is. Don't let it be tainted by these motherfuckers trying to tell you what to do. Because that's what we don't need. And once again, it's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son as your kinfolk. William Jewell. Hell, giving you my detail. This is articulating. Rap, rap, rap.